Yes, the voice of reason is back on WFLA for at least tonight on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. This is your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio. We do this show every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. live on my website, beyondreasonradio.com, and on the app. Just go to any app store and search Beyond Reason Radio. You can get the Beyond Reason Radio app. You can listen to the show live or listen to the podcast on the app as well. But tonight we are also broadcasting in Orlando on News Radio 102.5 FM, WFLA. And, well, it's great to be here. And, of course, there is a ton of Beyond Reason stuff. As always, as I like to start off every show, a ton of Beyond Reason stuff to talk about. And, unfortunately, to the chagrin of Michael, Mr. Michael Formasano, the producer in the control room, to the chagrin of him, a lot of the stuff is once again about Donald Trump. Yep, that was a sigh. That's all you have to say, huh? Just a big, giant sigh.
It's like unbelievable that we have so much to talk about for the same reason that we always talk about Trump. How does he keep coming up with this material?
Yeah, he's good. He is definitely the master of self-promotion. There's probably not many people better than him, at least at self-promotion. So, but we'll talk about that. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I've heard people say, well, we shouldn't talk about Trump. It gives him too much attention. Or why aren't you pointing out some of the other candidates and some of their liberal policies and some of the bad things they've said? I understand that. But the fact of the matter is Trump is winning. He is still leading in the polls. Even after his comments about banning all Muslims from coming in the country, he is still winning. So I'm pointing stuff out on Facebook, and every time I say anything on my Facebook page about Trump, it just explodes with debates, which is pretty amazing. Like I said one thing earlier this week. I said, well, it's like 2008 all over again. In 2008, no one thought John McCain was going to be the Republican nominee. He ended up being the nominee. He ended up losing. I think it's going to happen again. Trump, nobody thought at first he was going to be the nominee. He might end up being the nominee, and then we will lose. And I had a whole bunch of people say, oh, Trump is nothing like McCain. Well, that wasn't the point I was making. The point is they're both losers, I think. And I think they're actually a lot more similar than you might think. For one, everyone wanted McCain because McCain was the maverick. He was the maverick of Congress. He was willing to get all the independents. And that's what they think of Trump. And then in 2012, we all thought Romney was the candidate to beat Obama. Why? Well, he was a smart businessman. Romney's a smart businessman, so he is perfect to go against Obama. Hearing the same about Trump now. Trump's a smart businessman. And I told people in 2012, Romney's going to lose to Obama. He's not a conservative. What happened? Romney lost to Obama. If Trump gets elected, I think he's going to lose to Hillary Clinton. But instead of just all this bashing Trump, I want to ask you a question. And I want anyone who has the answer to this question to call this show tonight. 407-916-5400. Because this is the question. I'm taking a little different tact here with Trump because nobody's talking about this. So I'm going to ask you. Because I'm a conservative. I believe in limited constitutional government. I know a lot of you in the audience believe that as well, but I know a lot of you in the audience also like Trump. So my question is this for you. What are Trump's plans to cut the size of the federal government and to bring it back to its constitutional role? What are Trump's plans to do that? 407-916-5400. If you have any idea what Trump's plans are to do that. I want to know. I want somebody to tell me what are Trump's plans to cut the size of government. If we really want a conservative, and a lot of you who support Trump say you want a conservative, I want you to tell me, call me, tell me why Trump is a conservative. Because I don't know. I haven't seen it. 407-916-5400 if you have a take on that. Now back to the whole Muslim ban thing. Trump, as you know, said he wants to ban all Muslims from coming into this country. So we're hearing this, well, we did that under Jimmy Carter with Iran. When they had the revolutions, we banned all Iranians. There is a difference between banning someone from a specific country and banning someone because of their faith that they believe in their heart. I really, truly think there is a difference. And there's been a whole bunch of backlash about what Trump said, as it should be. But some of the best comments I actually heard were from Fox News analyst Charles Krauthammer. Now, I don't always agree with Krauthammer, and I think, it makes me... The fact that a lot of these establishment types disagree with Trump makes me want to support Trump because they disagree with Trump. But I don't think... I just can't. Yeah, and I liked Trump at the beginning. His original speech I liked. But I want someone to tell me, what is he going to do that's like a conservative? Krauthammer, on his take on the Muslim thing, though, is very interesting. You have to hear, because it's pretty funny. This is what Charles Krauthammer had to say about Trump's ban on Muslims coming into the country.
The problem is not that he might cost them the presidency. The problem is what he's doing to the level of American discourse. This is at the highest level of presidential politics. And the issue is not just that it's impulsive or unreasonable. This is truly deeply bigoted. It is indefensible. And even if you put all of that aside, which you wouldn't, but if you wanted to, and just talked about the practicality of
it. Stop right there real quick. Now, Krauthammer is pretty bold and says it's deeply bigoted. Okay, whatever. I don't know if Trump's a bigot or what. I just think he's not very smart. But when he gets into the practicality of actually doing this, Krauthammer makes such an excellent point on this subject that I had to play it. And this is Trump's grand plan on stopping Muslims from coming in to this country. This is it. Here it goes.
He was asked, how do you police this? He said, well, when you come through customs, the guy will ask you, are you a Muslim? And here is Donald Trump, tough guy, right? He's competent, all the others are incompetent. His answer is, you're going to ask him, is he a Muslim? So here's a guy that Trump is saying is hidebound to come out and to kill people innocently, but he's going to be held to a George Washington cherry tree standard of not telling a lie to an infidel immigration officer. So I think that Chris Stirewalt...
Okay, stop right there. So this is Trump's grand plan. We're going to ask them. So they come up to the border agents, and we'll just say, hey, are you a Muslim? And they're going to say, no. Oh, okay. Come on in.
How has nobody thought of this before?
I don't know. It's genius, right? Brilliant.
Brilliant.
We're just going to ask them. And then we just come, and they're just going to come in. And okay. Oh, well, okay then. Wow. And then Krauthammer made a sarcastic point here that I thought was pretty funny. He continues on here.
To this dilemma, he suggested that everybody coming through LaGuardia, JFK, Dulles be forced to eat a ham sandwich. Now, that way, I would admit that some people will be caught in the net who shouldn't, Orthodox Jews and vegetarians. But as Trump says, this is war, and there will be collateral damage, so we have to get serious about this.
That right there just points out the whole ridiculousness of this whole argument. He's basically saying what we could do is just force them to eat a ham sandwich, and if they won't, we know they're Muslim because, they don't eat pork.
Genius.
And he's being sarcastic there, but it's just, that's how ridiculous this whole thing
but
is.
It's
that's
not.
That's why you can't police this. This is why you can't do it. You can't just totally ban a people from entering. This isn't immigration. This isn't living here, becoming citizens. This is merely, even if you're just visiting, you cannot come into the country based on your faith. And everyone says, this is brilliant. This is genius. He is saying the voice of the people. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Does anyone, what is happening? There are real legitimate plans that could be done to keep us safe. But this is just fear-mongering. He's going to the lowest common denominator. Now, to my question, because we have calls. What is Trump's plan to cut the size of government and to bring it back to its constitutional role as a conservative? Want someone to call me and tell me that. We have Douglas in Orlando. Tell me, Douglas, what is Trump's plan? Is he a conservative? Does he have a plan to cut the size of the government?
His exact plan, nobody's going to know yet. But he's a businessman.
Why not?
He's a businessman. He's going to cut
So?
the fat.
So
he runs businesses. He makes money. He's not going to be giving out money for nothing.
Does that automatically make him credible?
Well, I want to know, though, what's his plan to cut the size of government?
His track record has proven it.
His track record, he's been all over the place on this stuff.
He has no political track record.
So
Look how much money he's made.
Okay, so there's a lot of socialists who have made a lot of money. There's a lot of socialists who have made a lot of money in business because they've been corrupt and been in bed with the government. How do we know that Trump's not going to do the same?
How do we know he's not going to be corrupt? They're all corrupt after a while.
Yeah, but what is his plan to cut the size of government? Ted Cruz has a plan. Marco Rubio has a plan. Ben Carson has a plan. Why should I trust that Trump? He has no plan. How do I know he's a conservative? Because he's a businessman?
He's a moneymaker.
So there's a lot of socialists that are moneymakers.
He's going to run it like a business, not like a government.
He ran his business by corruption, by being in bed with government. How would we not know he would do the same with the government?
He had to play with the rules he had in New York City. If there's corruption there, or in Atlantic City, if there's corruption there, which there obviously is, if you've ever seen Atlantic City, you'd know that there's plenty of corruption. But he doesn't have any personal interest.
It's corruption in D.C., so isn't he going to play that way in D.C.?
In D.C.? No, I think he's going to throw a lot of the bums out.
Okay. Thank you for your call. So he's a conservative because he's a businessman? There's a lot of businessmen who are not conservative.
Because he has money?
Because he has money, he's a conservative. He's going to cut the size and the role of the federal government because he has money and he ran a business. Okay. There's a bajillion leftists. Bill Gates is a businessman, one of the richest men in the world. Bill Gates is not a conservative. Would you elect Bill Gates because he's a successful businessman? That makes no sense. I want some actual substance to what he is going to do to cut the size of government. Eva in Orlando, what's your take on this?
I could care less. I've talked to you before, Yaffee.
Uh-huh.
And I have voted Republican all my life. I will not vote Republican this time. And that
who are you going to vote for?
Trump.
Why?
Because that I forget the word, but the surf of that crap hammer tape that you play shows why I'm not going to vote for a Republican.
He is a Republican right now. Trump's a Republican. He's a registered Republican running in the Republican race.
He's no Republican, Yappy.
I know. I think I think he doesn't really believe in anything, but he's running as a Republican.
Well, he's playing the game.
Okay, so how is he different than anyone else then?
Well, give him a chance. He can't do any worse than
what has he done to make me give him a chance? This is what I want to know. Why? What is his plan?
Not the same old. Just like the
Obama wasn't the same old, and he's destroying the country.
Who?
Obama.
The stupid people that voted for Obama have their hands out. That's all they want.
And what do the Trump supporters want?
They don't care at this point. Just not the elite, and not.
You think there aren't elitists who want Trump?
The Democrats, because I'm speaking for me. I'm not.
You think there aren't Democrats who want Trump?
Who knows? I've heard there is.
So you're voting for Trump because he's not the same old.
Exactly.
He has no plan to cut the size of government, no plan to go back to the Constitution, no plan to cut spending, and yet we're going to vote for him because he's the same old? Tell me how this makes any sense. Obama wasn't the same old, and we all voted for him, so we're going to vote for another demagogue. We're going to vote for another demagogue who just says things, I remember in 2008. I remember in 2008 when we're all pointing out all this of Obama's history, all this of his past, all these associations he made, all this stuff, his pastor were like, look, Obama might seem like the great image of a great president, but he's just a demagogue. This isn't who he is. Let's look at who he is. Let's look at his past. And now the same people that hate Obama are doing the same thing with Trump? Tell me how that makes sense. And neither of those callers gave me what is Trump's plan to cut the size of government.
He has money.
He has money?
There's your plan.
407-916-5400. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio. A lot of Beyond Reason callers today here. BeyondReasonRadio.com, the Beyond Reason Radio app, and News Radio 102.5 WFLA.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffee on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Hey, the Budman here, inviting you to join Yaffee and me and your fellow patriots for our next Republican debate viewing party at Doc's Streetside Grill. The excitement starts Tuesday, December 15th at 6 p.m. Come on into Doc's and enjoy a fabulous and affordable dinner while together we watch both the early and primetime debates. Our debate viewing parties at Doc's have been great, so don't miss this one. Tuesday, December 15th, Doc's Streetside Grill, 1315 South Orange Avenue across from ORMC. For menu info and details, visit DocStreetSideGrill.com or call 407-841-3601.
You can now listen to the voice of the millennial generation on Podbean. Download the app or go to beyondreasonradio.podbean.com.
Oh, beyond reasonness in today's world today that we just blindly follow someone because of an image. The same reason all those people voted for Obama, and now we're doing it again. It's beyond reason. Now we're doing it because he's the direct opposite of Obama, but it's not based on substance. There's no substance. And the reason I pointed out this about Trump not being a conservative, because I went to his website. I went to all the Republican websites. I went to his website. And I was like, I wonder what his plan is to cut spending. He has no plan to cut spending. I wonder what his plan is to cut the size of government. He has no plan to cut the size of government, to get rid of any government agencies. I wonder what his plan is for health care. He has no plan for health care. And he has some plans on China reform, but he doesn't address the real problem. The real problem isn't China. The real problem is the massive amount of regulations that makes it so hard to do business here. And he doesn't address that. The only plan of his that I like is his plan on the VA, which is to let them go to other places to get a voucher or whatever and let them go to any places that accept Medicare. But that's not his plan. He borrowed that from other people. There's other people that brought that up first. So what's the deal here? And by the way, this is how serious Donald Trump is. You don't think he's a demagogue? You would think this guy's a conservative. According to his tax plan, if you are single and earn less than $25,000 or married and jointly earn less than $50,000, you will not owe any income tax. That removes 75 million households, blah, blah, blah. So they'll have no stake in the government. And this is what happens. They are to get a one-page form. This is on Trump's website. They are to get a one-page form to send the IRS saying, I win. So they don't have to pay any taxes, and they get a form that says, I win. And we're taking this guy seriously. Those who would otherwise owe income taxes will save an average of nearly $8,000. We're not serious. He has no plan for any of this stuff.
Does it really say that on the website?
I guarantee you, 100% not lying.
Oh, my God.
Go to his website, go to tax reform. If you don't pay taxes, you get to send something to the IRS that says, I win.
Like, on one hand, it would feel great to send the IRS a paper that says, I win.
But we get rid of
on the
IRS.
other hand, thank you.
But go ahead.
No, you already completed it.
Oh, is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, along those lines.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But seriously, you can't take him seriously when you see stuff like that, though. How about instead of putting stuff like that, you put a plan? Isn't that what we've been talking about?
He's basically buying votes, which is what Democrats do. There's so many things that come out of Trump's mouth that I'm like, that's what Democrats say.
That's the best way to put it. He's a businessman. He buys votes.
Yeah, I guess. By the way, this is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. That's executive producer, Mr. Michael Formasano in there. And we're also joined by assistant producer today, Tyler, who we're going to talk to a little bit later. We're going to talk to her a little bit later and get her take on some things, I guess. But I just had to point that out. Now, let me take a call here from Rick in Orlando. Rick, tell me what your take on all this is.
Yeah, well, I think it's, you drew the parallel with Obama. But I remember early in the Obama campaign, there was no specifics. It was all hope and change in it.
Exactly.
A very strong anti-Bush, anti-war sentiment.
Exactly.
Anything but Bush. And that's what he ran on. Obamacare wasn't even introduced until a year and a half into his presidency. And, of course, there was the uproar. It was all about the ideology. It was all about breaking the trend and breaking down a social construct that had been created under Bush. And you're seeing the same thing with Trump.
Thank you.
The pendulum has swung back to the right now.
Exactly.
So we're going back to a hope and change, but what you're seeing is a rally against the mainstream media, a rally against the name-calling, especially against the so-called white middle class. They're tired of being called bigots and racists. And, they have things they want to say, but they haven't been able to say them for 25 or 30 years for fear of being called certain names.
Right.
So he's breaking through, and he's touching a chord in middle white America, so to speak, that hasn't been able to
mostly older votes.
And after you start paying taxes, you know how it goes. Things starts changing. You start viewing things a little bit different.
Right.
You have children, you start paying real taxes.
But so it seems like though you agree with me that it's nothing real, nothing substantive. It's
and I don't
just
think it matters yet. He doesn't have the nomination. Why would he waste his time? He's too busy drumming up he's too busy playing a circus show for the media and watching him jump through hoops. He's too busy making people say, "Oh my God, did he really just say that?" And when he gets the nomination, I think it'd be a better time to actually look at what his real plans are. And then,
but why should I trust it? He's running now.
But won't it be too late then?
Not really. You can always vote for Hillary.
But she's going to win if he gets the nomination.
If Trump gets the nomination, you really believe that people are going to put Hillary Clinton in the White House?
Yeah, I do.
Unfortunately, yes.
No. And
I think so. Millennials are not going to vote for
Trump.
Trump.
At the polls right now. Right now, you're telling me that Hillary Clinton is going to beat Donald Trump in the polls right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, Trump won't get enough votes.
Maybe electoral. I mean, if you look at California, New York, and some of the bigger electoral
the two candidates, well, this is kind of off topic, but the two candidates that do beat Hillary are Rubio and Carson. It's not Trump. I've been saying this beginning. I do not think Trump can beat Hillary. I think he's the one candidate that can't beat Hillary. And so we're supposed to wait till he gets the nomination and then just believe he's going to be a conservative, even though he has no track record of conservatism. But yeah, when he gets the nomination, then he'll be a conservative then. And then he'll put it out. Why should I trust him for that? And then what really frustrates me is we have real conservatives that are running. That do stand, all those things this guy likes about Trump. Stands up against the establishment, says what's right, stands up for America, but he actually has plans and he's actually a conservative. Like Ted Cruz. And I have audio here of Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz was interviewed and he was asked what his plan was to keep the country safe in terms of letting people in the country. Now you have Trump who said we need to ban all Muslims, but then you have a real conservative who stands up for American values, who does all the things real conservatives want, who stands up against the media. And then this is what his plan is. And just listen to the difference here. This is what frustrates me. We have real conservatives running that we could get behind and vote for, and we're for a demagogue. Here we go. This is Ted Cruz.
I've introduced legislation that would impose a 3-year moratorium on refugees from countries where al-Qaeda or ISIS control a substantial amount of territory. And the reason is simple. The FBI, Obama's own head of the FBI, James Comey, told Congress that this administration cannot vet the refugees to determine if they're ISIS
So it's not religious-based. Not based on the religion, it's based on the territory.
It's based on protecting us from areas where ISIS and al-Qaeda control substantial territory, and we can't ensure that the people coming here are not ISIS terrorists. And that should be our first obligation, keep the country safe.
So Ted Cruz actually has a real plan. He's saying, look, if we want to keep the country safe, what we can do is we can ban people who are in those countries where ISIS has real strongholds. He says he doesn't agree with Trump's policy. You go to Ted Cruz's website, he has a 5-point plan to cut 25 departments in the government. He has a flat tax plan, which is conservative. He has a plan to cut spending and to balance the budget. All of these things, he has plans and ready to go, and he's a real conservative who stands up just like Trump does. But we're all going for Trump? And we're supposed to just trust that eventually he'll be a conservative. Why? Why? I don't get it. It's beyond reason. 407-916-5400. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com, the Beyond Reason Radio app, and tonight exclusively on News Radio 102.5 WFLA.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com.
Hey, the Budman here, inviting you to join Yaffee and me and your fellow patriots for our next Republican debate viewing party at Doc's Streetside Grill. The excitement starts Tuesday, December 15th at 6 p.m. Come on into Doc's and enjoy a fabulous and affordable dinner while together we watch both the early and primetime debates. Our debate viewing parties at Doc's have been great, so don't miss this one. Tuesday, December 15th, Doc's Streetside Grill, 1315 South Orange Avenue across from ORMC. For menu info and details, visit DocStreetSideGrill.com or call 407-841-3601.
You know what's beyond reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back to Beyond Reason Radio. I am your voice of reason, your voice of truth in a world that is beyond reason. And I am joined by Mr. Michael Formisano. And by the way, I'm also joined by Tyler, who joined us like forever ago. And we kept saying, hey, come back, come back.
I'm sorry, I was really busy.
Whatever.
Likely excuse.
I know, likely excuse.
And out of town.
And out of town.
Because she takes off like weeks at a time. I don't know how she does it, but I would really like it if she shared.
We're cutting your pay.
Oh, I'm sure that happens.
We're cutting.
That hurts.
We're cutting, yeah. I don't know how we do that. I guess you have to owe us money. That's how that would work.
Oh, I like that.
Not you.
No, I like this.
Just Mike. Not you.
I control your microphone.
Well, Tyler, we're glad you're here. And by the way, she's the one who's been screening calls for us. So thank you, Tyler, for that. And by the way, Mike and I were talking in the break, and we've decided that Donald Trump is Lex Luthor.
He's totally Lex Luthor.
You know, Lex Luthor, and, you know, the Superman villain, for anyone who doesn't know, if you don't know, you're dumb. But anyways, the Superman villain, Lex Luthor, he was a businessman, right? He was
a
rich.
Businessman. He had money.
Yeah, he was money. So if he decided to become President Lex Luthor, he would just run the country like a business, and we'd be fine, right? You know, he's a businessman, rich. So Donald Trump is Lex Luthor. So there we go. That's it's going to make a lot of people upset. Okay. I wasn't planning on talking about Trump this long, I promise.
We specifically started the show planning saying we're not going to talk about Trump the whole show.
And I want to get into something else in a little bit. The attack on Wal-Mart has continued, and I told Mike I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the show because it just frustrates me, the whole thing against Walmart, and they're saying it ends up killing jobs and all this stuff when it really doesn't. So we'll get into that, but I guess I'll take calls since I don't usually do that. I don't usually have the chance because my comments have, I don't know, upset people, but also some people actually agree with me. So I'm going to take Chris. Chris, welcome to Beyond Reason Radio. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm okay. A little upset.
I just wanted to tell you guys that I really like your show. I listened to it before dinner. I listened to it after dinner, and I'm actually a moderate liberal. So
okay,
I know that
awesome.
puts me on the wrong side of you guys, but at least you're reasonable.
Thank
I've been trying
you.
to tell people for the longest time that the only chance Hillary has to win is if Donald Trump wins the nomination.
So, and that's exactly what so you think, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you think that pretty much all the other candidates could beat Hillary except Trump.
I do. And as a matter of fact, as a liberal, I'm scared to death of Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Obama just happened to be both those guys are so far liberal left. They actually, and I'm a liberal, but I'm a moderate liberal.
Right.
I mean, Bernie Sanders wants everybody to go to school for free, and Hillary Clinton wants to give everything away. And I'm not that far left, but Obama was a moderate liberal, in my opinion. And I think Carson's fine. I think Rubio's fine. I think any one of those guys would beat Hillary Clinton because I think the majority of Americans are scared to death of her.
Wow.
They're more afraid of Donald Trump than they are of Hillary Clinton. So I thought you're spot on. Your take was spot on. I just wanted to call in and tell you that I was really impressed that you guys could see through the clouds well enough to see that, because I try to tell all my Republicans that all the time.
Awesome,
and they're like,
Chris.
no way, Trump's going to win. And I'm like, all right.
All right. It sounds like awesome, Chris. Thanks for listening. And by the way, you can when we're not on WFLA, make sure to listen to us at BeyondReasonRadio.com, okay?
Say what?
When we're not on WFLA, make sure to listen to us on my website, BeyondReasonRadio.com.
Okay. Thank you, boss.
All right. Have a good one, man. Yeah, by the way, so we're usually on BeyondReasonRadio.com Mondays and Fridays at 8. If you miss the show live, you can catch the podcast pretty much anywhere there's a podcast. You can catch it. So you can catch it on Podbean, iHeartRadio, iTunes, anywhere. So if you missed it live, just catch the podcast. So, but he's exactly what I said.
Chris gets my Reason Award.
And I think we're turning him to the right. I think we're making him conservative little by little. We're dragging him over to the right. But
here's the thing. I don't even mind what side our listeners are on, as long as they join us reasonably. And
and he was even saying, look,
exactly. That's why I appreciate that.
I've been saying that this is why so many candidates are running right now, because they believe they can beat Hillary, because Hillary is a very flawed candidate. But I think our party, at least people voting in the party, are becoming suicidal if they think Trump can win. How is Trump going to get the millennial vote? There's polls that right now, there's a Harvard poll out that says Trump actually gets a lot of millennials, 20%. So people are like, oh, look, Trump can get the millennial vote. But what they don't realize is that's 15% less than what he's getting generally. So most of Trump's votes are from older, not millennials. But when you look at someone like Ben Carson's only getting like 10 to 13% generally, but he's getting 20% of the millennial vote as well, which shows that he's getting a lot more millennials. There's a candidate that can get our generation. Also, in the poll, at least in South Carolina poll, 30% of millennials said they would never vote for Trump. So more millennials said that they would never vote for Trump than said that support him right now.
There's nothing appealing to the millennials about Trump.
He doesn't
at all.
He doesn't reach out to them. Carson actively reaches out to them. Rand Paul actively reaches out to them. Marco Rubio actively reaches out to them. Ted Cruz actively reaches out to them. Trump doesn't. He doesn't think he needs them. So, and he's going to lose. You need that to win, especially if you're not going to get the Hispanic vote, the black vote, the woman vote. He's not going to get any of that. One more call here. Steve in Oviedo. Welcome to Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, and thanks for joining.
Okay, yeah. You were comparing Mr. Trump to Obama, but I think a better comparison is actually someone like Marco Rubio. Because if you look at Obama, really he was appealing to some people, like I think your last caller, because he sounded moderate, he sounded intelligent, he sounded reasonable. Well, so does Marco Rubio, but neither of them actually say anything of substance. They have zero substance. They're both empty suits. Marco Rubio is a consummate politician. There's nothing conservative about him. He would sell this.
Conservative Review gave him an 80% conservative score. He has a plan in right now that's getting rid of parts of Obamacare.
He's sold out on immigration.
I agree.
Things that matter.
And I think what about Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz I like, except for his unfortunate Israel first foreign policy. That is a big problem with me. We've had that foreign policy for a number of years with the neocons, and it's been a disaster for this country. We should never have been in Iraq. That was a neocon policy, and it was a disaster.
Ted Cruz
we do not need more of that.
Okay, I mean, Ted Cruz hasn't proposed anything like that. But my main comparison, you agree, is that the reason why we're supporting Trump. Why are people supporting Trump then? You think it's based on substance?
No, I think it is. One of your previous callers mentioned that people are just tired of the Republican Party, who, in spite of being known for limited government, has no interest in limiting government.
That's true.
I don't know if you remember back in the 94 election when Newt Gingrich took over the House.
Right.
He had said, oh, yes, we're going to shut down government agencies and do other conservative things. None of that happened. None of these other Republicans that you're interested in will do that. So
you don't think Ted Cruz would do that? You don't think Rand Paul would do that?
I think Rand Paul possibly, because of who his father is. There's a chance with Rand Paul, but obviously Rand Paul, unfortunately, has no chance of winning. I would support him for sure. But
okay. All right. Well, thank you for your call. So he's basically saying Marco Rubio's. I mean, I understand. I have a lot of problems with Marco Rubio too, but I mean, he at least has plans to do some of this stuff. He's at least done some things against government spending, some things against Obamacare. He's been strongly for school choice. None of these. I mean, if you're going to say, well, Marco Rubio's not a real conservative, then why are people going to Trump? He's so far not more conservative than Rubio. This is my main point here. Okay, I want to get into a bunch of other things that we haven't had time to get into. We'll get into that, like the attack on Wal-Mart, which I find interesting. You can call if you want, 407-916-5400. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com.
Hey, the Budman here, inviting you to join Yaffee and me and your fellow patriots for our next Republican debate viewing party at Doc's Streetside Grill. The excitement starts Tuesday, December 15th at 6 p.m. Come on into Doc's and enjoy a fabulous and affordable dinner while together we watch both the early and primetime debates. Our debate viewing parties at Doc's have been great, so don't miss this one. Tuesday, December 15th, Doc's Streetside Grill, 1315 South Orange Avenue across from ORMC. For menu info and details, visit DocStreetSideGrill.com or call 407-841-3601.
You want to listen to Beyond Reason Radio live on your smartphone? Download the Beyond Reason Radio app now. Available in the Google Play or Apple App Stores.
Yes, I'm the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason, especially today, the Trump beyond reasonness. And Craig in Orlando, I wasn't going to take any more calls on this, but I saw what it said on the screen here. Go ahead, Craig. Craig, you there? Hello?
Oh, no, it's Rick. I'm sorry. You must probably misunderstood.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
That's okay. Yeah, it's Rick from Orlando.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, little useless trivia for you.
Uh-huh.
Own a business in Orlando for 30 years, and
yes.
I guess I've been a lifelong Republican, but my personal opinion is a Democrat's more of a socialist and a Republican's more of a Democrat of perhaps the 80s when it comes to policy and
well, the Republican leadership, definitely, yes, I agree, but go ahead.
So that being said, but here's what's interesting. I was speaking with one of my customers who owns a sign company, and we were discussing Trump, and we were both interested in him. So he, on his own initiative, brought me a couple signs and 100 bumper stickers that said Trump on them to my shop the next day, just a little gift for me because we exchanged.
Okay.
I work for him, he does work for me. Anyway, that being said, interestingly enough, they flew out of my shop so quick you couldn't say lickety-split. So here's what's really interesting. For instance, last Friday, I remember, I had a gentleman, my brother-in-law, kind of hanging around at my business. He's in town from up north, and he couldn't help but notice I had the bumper stickers on the front desk out in front of my business. And I had different people delivering parts and other business. And here's what's interesting. Just Friday, I had 3 African-Americans take a sticker and 2 Hispanics. Now, why do I think that's interesting? Well, first off, they took the tickets and it was unsolicited. They just saw them on my desk.
I got you.
And they asked if they could have one. And traditionally, it's been thought that these people just don't vote Republican. Let's just say majority.
So is your point, I don't mean to cut you off here, but you're kind of going over. Is your point that you think Trump can win then? Get all these votes?
There's no doubt in my mind that he's crossing a line there, and he's pulling in independents. He's pulling minority votes, which traditionally was not the case. I've never seen anybody that interested in Romney. I didn't see anybody that interested in McCain. And I think you may be underestimating his draw. A couple of weeks ago, I just started asking a couple of Hispanics when they came into my shop. I said, hey, what do you think about Trump? And that's all I said to them. Did you know only like 1 out of like 8 or 9 of them said they really didn't care for him? But did you know not one of them was against building the wall? Not one?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and legal immigrants want it. All right. I have learned not to underestimate him. I used to underestimate him, and I didn't underestimate him. I think he can't even get – he's getting 30% of the Republican vote. He can't even get 70%. 70% of people don't – okay. I don't know how many times I have to be proven right on this stuff, you know? That's what frustrates me. I heard the same things about Romney. Well, Romney can get the independents and the minority and McCain. And I'm like, okay, he's going to lose and nobody listens to me. And then it happens. All right. So the attack on Walmart continues. By the way, people in the control room, Michael and Tyler, do you ever shop at Walmart?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You do?
It's all we can afford.
It's so cheap.
Exactly. That's why I go there. I mean, I like Publix and all. I have no problem with Publix, but I save a good amount of money going to Walmart or something instead.
What else are you going to do? There's nowhere else that you can get stuff cheaper. I want to go to Publix sometimes. And
I mean, that's...
Even Target. Like, one day I'll shop at Target. I know it as soon as I make it.
I go to Publix for my fruit, and then I go to Walmart for everything else.
I do the same thing.
And my meat.
I do the same thing.
Because I've been there before at 1 a.m., and the meat's just sitting on the forklift.
I do the exact same. Yep. That's funny, Tyler. That's good. Well, Walmart's under attack again. The New York Times had a... You remember the good old days of this commercial?
I used to love this commercial.
Why did they get rid of this guy? Remember the smiley face? You know this is going to be in your head for the rest of the night.
Absolutely.
You're going to be singing this on the way home in your car. Everyone out there listening. All right. All right. The New York Times came out and said that a new report suggested the retail giant has cost U.S. 400,000 jobs due to purchases from China. Okay. So we're attacking because they get stuff from China and it's going to cost 400,000 jobs in the U.S. Here's the thing, though. What they don't point out is that Walmart has created 1.4 million jobs. It employs 1.4 million people. That's just how many people work for Walmart, not all the jobs that are created from people, maybe small businesses who shop there and get their stuff there. So in terms of a job creator, Walmart is actually a net job creator because they create 1.4 million jobs. So even if it was true that they were losing 400,000 jobs, they've created way more than the 400,000. By the way, they complain about, Walmart importing stuff from Japan. Do you honestly think that none of these other places do that? You honestly think places like Target and places you shop at the mall or like Big Lots, you think they don't get stuff from China as well? I mean, really? You honestly think Walmart's the only one that does that? And once again, it points out that the real problem isn't our trade with China. It's our massive amount of regulations here. By the way, the Government Accountability Office came out this week, and they said there are so many regulations and so many regulatory agencies in this country right now that they've literally lost count. That's the Government Accountability Office admitting that they have lost count with how many regulatory agencies are in this country because there are so many. And we're wondering why we're getting stuff from overseas. Another point that I found this in Investors Business Daily, by the way, is really interesting. A lot of people point out the so-called Walmart effect. The idea that when the super retailer enters a new market, it kills mom and pop stores and decimates local wages and destroys jobs. Well, actually, a study of 89 counties over 20 years found that growth, employment, and total earnings were stronger in counties that had Walmart, not weaker. Not to mention the $2,500 in benefits that each U.S. household reaps as a result of Walmart keeping prices low. See, people don't like Walmart because it's done a better job of bettering the quality of life for people with low income than anybody else. Than the government, by the way. But I thought that was interesting. Now, if you have a problem, Walmart isn't perfect. One of my problems with Walmart is sometimes they'll go to communities and they'll want specific tax benefits that maybe some other businesses don't get. Some of that crony capitalism type of stuff. That kind of stuff I can't support when it comes to Walmart. But this attack on them because, they get stuff from China. telling you, go in your mall, go in your department store at the mall, look at the tag of the clothes, and tell me that Dillard's and other places that some of that stuff isn't made in China. Really? We're going to attack Walmart for something that all companies do. It's called trade. It happens. Go into Target, tell me the same thing. That doesn't happen. It's just economics. Now, some people like Target better because they have better customer service and they pay their employees better. That's fine. There's a lot of different places that have that. But the attack on Walmart is just, plus plus they have this catchy song,
Just love it. Have you ever watched videos of Walmart customers? Worth it.
What is it? The people of Walmart.com or something?
All you got to do is go to YouTube and search Walmart customer videos or something like that, and you see the most bizarre things. It's insane.
I have to admit, this is going to sound really bad because all three of us shop there, so maybe people think this of us, but sometimes you can find the ugliest people inside a Walmart.
Bizarre.
Although now
falls under that category.
But now I'm discriminating against ugly people. That's what people are going to say about me now, that I'm an ugliest.
I mean, what is ugly? Your ugly could be different from my ugly.
That's true. It's all relative. I guess. So, but I thought that was interesting that I like, debunking some of the stuff that is out there. I thank you all for joining me. We had quite a debate today on Donald Trump. And I like to end every show, by the way, with the verse, and I just have to pull it up. I forgot to pull it up earlier. I like to end every show with a verse, if I can find it here. I'm going to run out of time, aren't I? Dang it. All right, see you all later. Listen to Monday's show. I'll have the verse then. Listen on Monday at 8 p.m. BeyondReasonRadio.com. Catch you guys then.